We are going to be going through Chapter 6 today, which covers memos, emails, and routine messages. Today, we are going to be covering memos, which includes format, organization, paper versus email memos. We're also going to be covering emails, which will go over some of the guidelines for emails, format, style, and tone. Okay, so let's get into it. First, let's start with the basics about memos. So a memo is a specially formatted document sent to readers within an organization. Memos are a fast and efficient way of communicating within your organization. They can bring all levels of corporate together, and the typical advantage of a memo is that it's simple. It's specifically designed to be read quickly, especially if it contains vital information. It is usually less formal than a letter or report, and it opens up with the purpose of the memo. It's a sort of simple approach to communicating, and it is highly effective. These memos can be many things. They can be reminders, instructions, records of actions and decisions, data gathering tools, and aids to problem solving. They can be sent in the paper format, and they can also be sent in the email format. A good memo should be clear, concise, and informative, and has the three following traits. Usually has a single topic, brevity or short and simple, to be read quickly, essentially, so single topic, short and sweet. And then there's a two-part structure. So the first part of the structure is what are called the headers, which is date, to, from, subject, and sometimes you'll see CC in there as well. And then you have the actual message. So let's go into memo organization. Let's talk about what exactly is in a memo. So there's three parts to a memo, and before you begin to write, you need to consider the facts and issues you have to cover. Especially, you have to anticipate your reader's needs. We cover that a lot in COM 140, anticipating your reader's needs and making sure that you're putting that in so that they aren't left with any questions after the fact. So the most positive and neutral messages conveying routine or non-sensitive information can be organized using this outline here. The opening. Use the opening for your most important information. This seems kind of counterintuitive. It seems kind of like you would want to maybe lead up to the most important, but with memos, remember, it's about being simple and being brief. So you want to use the opening for your most important information. Don't just restate the subject line. You need to fill in the who, what, when, where, why, and how to get the point across as quickly as possible. 1 to 3 sentences are usually sufficient to summarize your central idea. Include a few words of context telling the readers what they need to know and why they need to know the information that you're sharing. So not only give them the who, what, when, where, and how, but also give them the why. So for example, to maintain productivity levels during power outages, our company has leased an on-site power system from Energy Now. Okay, so that gives the why. When you must deliver bad news or write persuasively, you want to start with the evidence. So readers are more likely to accept a decision, even a negative one, when they are prepared for it and they know it's logical and well justified. So in your body, you can start with, if you have good news, it's positive news, or it's neutral. You can start with some more detailed information and expand on and discuss or explain the problem, assignment, request, or whatever is needed. It's important to only include the details your readers must know to act on your information, whether that's for good news, bad news, or neutral. If you are relaying a sequence of actions or several requests, you put them in grammatically parallel lists, prefaced by a summary statement that gives readers an overview or glimpse of the big picture. Points may be presented chronologically, in order of specificity, or in order of importance. We'll talk more about lists later on in this presentation as well. Make sure the body provides sufficient background and clearly identifies deadlines and peoples involved. So this should just give them everything they need to know without giving them too much information, only the information they need to know to act on it. In closing, summarize your request or a call for action, clearly indicating who should do what, by when, and for how long. So this is a very specific thing, right? You say, here's the problem, this is why I'm writing you, this is what I suggest, or this is what I need, this is what I need from this person at this time, and it's very specific, it's very simple, it's very straight to the point. It may be appropriate to end date requests, cite reasons for them, invite feedback, provide contact information, or tell the readers where they can get more information, or even state what happens next. Avoid canned or mechanical phrases that do not suit the situation, and show courtesy and appreciation as the situation merits. So one of the ways you can make your memo simpler, like we said, to increase the memo's brevity, or brief, short and sweet, is to take wordy sentences and make them into lists. So let's talk about the formatting lists for memos. List is really a group of 3 or more logically related items. Ideally, lists in memos and emails should be between 3 and 5 points. It can go up to 8, but keep it between 3 and 5 to make it easy for the reader to follow. The purpose of a list is to order and emphasize important information, breaking up solid blocks of text, sequencing events and actions, and making concepts easier to understand, remember, and reference. To be effective, a list must have these features. So it must have a lead-in, introducing, explaining, and putting the items to follow in context, or giving an intro into what your list is going to be. I'll give an example in just one second. Parallel phrasing for every item, and then semantic or grammatical continuity between the lead-in items and every item in the list. And I'll show you an example of that too in just a second. It also needs to have adequate transition to the sentences that follow after the list. So lists can be horizontal, so in a sentence, or they can be vertical. So horizontal lists, they less impact the reader, but they are less intrusive. So if there's something more sensitive or something that you perceive the reader might not take well to, you can use a horizontal list. It makes it less intrusive. Try to keep horizontal lists between 3 and 5 items. Here's an example of a horizontal list. So it says, as Director of Commercial Real Estate Finance, you will monitor market trends, provide information and support on our lending programs, and recommend refinements to existing programs. There's 3 there. Another way that you can do these kind of horizontal lists to make it more obvious what the items are, you can number them like this. So please bring the following items with you on retreat: 1, walking shoes; 2, a raincoat; and 3, sunscreen. What it means by putting the items that follow in context is so that if you took out, say, walking shoes or a raincoat, it would still make sense that sunscreen is there. So you can read, please bring the following items with you on retreat: sunscreen. Or as a Director of Commercial Real Estate and Finance, you will recommend refinements to existing programs. So it still makes sense grammatically, even if you take out items of that list. In vertical lists, you'll see there's more importance to have those items be more synchronous, so to be the same type. Vertical lists, you want to max 7 to 8 items. It does make a visual impact, and it breaks up a memo visually so that people can see it. You want to introduce a list with a strong lead-in that reads logically and grammatically with each point that follows the same way that we did horizontal lists. You want to do vertical lists as well. So you want to punctuate the lead-in with a colon if it's a complete sentence. There's no need for punctuation if the lead-in depends on that point that follows to complete its meaning. So you can see in these examples here. You can use numbers or letters to indicate chronological sequence or importance. Numbers are useful for indicating priority, but bullets on the other hand suggest that all items are equally important. If your list has more than 8 items, really it can lose focus and purpose, so try to keep that between, max 7 or 8 items, or someone's just going to scan the list and they're not going to read the whole thing. So let's read these examples. A wrong way to do a vertical list would be like this. Our company has one segment that deals with investing, has another segment that takes care of mortgages, also has the leasing operations. What would be more appropriate would be our company has 3 key business segments: investing, mortgage operations, and leasing operations. You can more easily read the second list. It stands out better, and it's simpler and easier to understand. So I've pulled up an example memo here that you can see. This is an example of a memo that I've picked up from the textbook. It just says to, from, subject, date, which is the order of headings that we will follow in this class. So it will go to, from, subject, date every time. So you want to start with these heading titles. Notice that they are all capitalized, and there's about 3 spaces after that word subject. Usually it's the end of the longest word. In this case, it is subject. And then all the headings are flush left to that location. So if you see here, these are not all level, but they are flush left here. There's about 3 spaces here, and then these are all flushed left here. And this is important just for visual sake. There are a lot of templates on Word for memos that you can start with. To make a memo, you can start a memo from scratch. Usually companies will have their own template saved in whatever systems that they have so that everybody is sending the same format for memos throughout the company. So if you notice in this memo, it opens directly with a polite command and uses active voice sentence. So it says, please distribute the enclosed calendars and remind your staff that Department of Continuing Education is now accepting registration for its fall courses. It says very clear, this is the whole point of the memo, is right here in this first section. So remember, this is the introduction section. This is where your most important information is going to go. It's going to be straight and to the point. It's not convoluted. You can understand it clearly. The person reading understands what they have to do. They have to distribute the enclosed calendars and remind the staff that we're now accepting registration for fall courses. Then it goes on to explain the opening request, offer details, and supplies the end date for the action. So it says college staff members are eligible to enroll tuition in up to 5 full courses per year at 25 blah blah blah. Please note that registration closes September 5th. So this provides all the relevant information that the person reading this memo might ask. Remember, when you start your memo, you're going to consider your audience's needs. So this involves considering what they might ask you as a question, considering what email you might get back from them or what response you might get back from them in regards to this memo with something that they need. So if you didn't include the processing fee, you might get an email back saying, hey, what's the processing fee for this? So you're considering what kind of questions they might be asking, considering what those recipients' needs are. And then the end explains the enclosed material, cites the reader benefits, and offers additional information. So they say enclosed are 5 copies of the fall 2017, summer 2018 calendar listing of over 2,000 blah 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 blah, detailed course descriptions, and easy online registration. Visit our website. Please call me if you have any questions about our range of programs or require additional calendars. And then the end expresses appreciation for action. Thank you for your help in distributing the calendars. So you're thanking, you're expressing your appreciation, and you're also driving home that action that you want the person to take with this memo. So the whole point of writing this memo is to say, distribute the calendars and remind your staff. So you're going to reinforce that by saying, thank you for your help in distributing the calendars. So I also wanted to point out there's also typically 3 single space lines between the last heading right here. So in this case, it's going to be our date and then the body of the memo. So you don't always have to email a memo. There are other options as well, including a paper or hard copy. So when legality, confidentiality, or document integrity, which means preserving the layout or formatting features email systems cannot accommodate, or they might mess up, and it's very important that you have it set up in a certain way. When these are your primary concerns, a hard copy memo is preferable to email. In all other cases, email is faster and quicker.
We are going to take a quick break now. I want you to head back to Blackboard and click on the knowledge check that I've posted right in Blackboard underneath this video. Complete that knowledge check and then click on the next video where we will be talking about emails.